Honestly, I have a whole different point of view on Bon Jovi after watching all these documentaries, after reading the lyrics, after literally studying them for a whole month. I realize just how much of a journey they've had. Honestly, when I found out Slippery When Wet was released, or when I read about Slippery When Wet and when it was released, I was totally expecting them to be on their own tour instead of not being opening acts for other bands. It wasn't until later on when they started making videos for the album, when they made videos for Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name, that's when things really exploded in 1987. Things change once you study the story behind the album and when you hear about how they got inspiration. With Slippery When Wet, the first song, Let It Rock, it's just like you hear that ooh, and then you hear that organ, do-do-do, 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 and it's like, oh, this sounds good, and then all of a sudden you hear that, oh, 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 like, hey, this sounds good. You start banging your head to the song, and then you hear John, and you're like, oh, this is a singer here. I'm like, and you wonder, where are these guys from? That's when you start to think, in those days, in the 80s, lots of the big hair metal or the glam metal bands in those days were from Los Angeles, like Motley Crue and countless others. But these guys were from New Jersey, like I said. And when I first saw pictures of them and when I saw their music videos, I really did think they looked like guys from LA. And then I see his jacket and it says New Jersey. I'm like, whoa, Jersey, hey. That's kind of something. He's a Jersey guy like Bruce Springsteen. Well, what else should I know? It took a while, but I guess you could say if it wasn't for me just curious and just, wondering, what makes Bon Jovi such a great rock band, well, just watch documentaries and take notes, which I sure have done here. This album's just feel good. It goes from, most of the songs they played were on this album are just dancing and, gets you up there. It makes you feel good. And, really, really spend time listening to the lyrics. They're not always, let's go to the club, let's party, let's dance, like Motley Crue. No. Listen to lyrics by Bon Jovi and Bruce Springsteen, and you actually think to yourself, wow, a journey these guys have been through. Like, I'm surprised that not all the songs got on the charts. I know that 2 songs from the album hit the charts, Living on a Prayer and You Give Love a Bad Name. I'm surprised that Raise Your Hands and... Actually, no, I lied. 3, Wanted Dead or Alive. But I'm surprised that I did some reading about the chart-topping singles, and I was surprised to see 3. I'm surprised that Raise Your Hands and Wild in the Streets didn't really quite make it, but, you can't really impress everybody. But I'm impressed. I'm sure a lot of people from that era would be impressed with this. I really don't know what people this generation would think of Bon Jovi now. I often wonder if new fans are coming up. A lot of people have a different taste in music nowadays, so it'll be interesting to see what happens. I also heard that the band is releasing a new album coming up in a few months. Bon Jovi 2020 is what I was told. That's what I was told what the album's name is. They could always change it, just like they changed Slippery When Wet numerous different times.